You're listening to the Options Insider Radio Network, the home of the Options Podcast. For more quality options programs, visit theoptionsinsider.com or search for Options Insider Radio Network in your podcast provider of choice. Listeners can also access all of our programming through our mobile app available in the iTunes and Google Play stores. Select programs are also available via live stream at mixlr.com/options-insider. That's mixlr.com/options-insider. Don't forget to follow along with your favorite programs and submit your own questions for the hosts at twitter.com/options, stocktwits.com/options, facebook.com/theoptionsinsider, or via questions at theoptionsinsider.com. And now, it's time for the show that breaks down the options market from unusual activity alerts to market analysis, strategy overviews, listener questions, and much more. If it involves puts and calls, then our all-star panel will break it down. It's time to hit the Option Block with your host, Mark Longo from the Options Insider Media Group, and co-hosts, Uncle Mike TOSAW from St. Charles Wealth Management, along with Mark the Greasy Meatball Sebastian and Andrew the Rock Lobster GIOVINAZZI from OptionPit.com. And now, get ready to hit the Option Block.
All right, everybody. That music means it is time once again for episode 2 of everyone's favorite bi-weekly Options Spectacular, known far and wide, hither and yon, as the Option Block. My name, of course, Mark Longo from theoptionsinsider.com. Reminding you a couple of things. If you like what you hear, do keep rating and reviewing on your platform of choice or via our stores for our mobile app. There's a lot of different places you could rate this content. So, of course, via the network feed as well, if you are listening to the full network. A lot of different places for you guys to rate and review if you like what you hear. It does help new folks continue to discover this show in these crazy, turbulent markets. Man, what a 24 hours it has been. It was the end of the world yesterday. Today, it's the best of times again. A lot of living going on in the last 24 hours. We'll get to all of it, listeners. And, of course, if you want even more living in your life, you want your broadcast week to extend beyond vol views at the end of the week. You want options oddities snaking in there after vol views. You want some pro Q&As sneaking in there as well. You want to get the access to the pro podcast feed with hundreds of awesome episodes, live access to this, everything else we do throughout the week. And of course, we just gave away a sweet pro trading crate yet again yesterday on Options Bootcamp. You want to get your name in the hat for all the awesome giveaways that everybody's tweeting about and sending pictures about over there on the old Twitters. Then you know where to go. theoptionsinsider.com/pro, or for you cool kids /secret club. And let's see who's joining us past the velvet rope in the secret club today. First off, let's go out to the dark, stormy, turbulent shores of Maine, where we are joined once again by the rockingest of lobsters, Mr. Andrew GIOVINAZZI from OptionPit.com. Mr. G, welcome back to the show, sir.
It is good to be here. I'm pleased as punch. Pleased as punch to be here.
Quite a difference 24 hours makes, huh? Wow.
You just, all you need to do is have that all that inflation worry kind of go away, and you're good. You're good. You all of a sudden the inflation number looks a little smaller, and maybe the Fed's like, hey, maybe this jacking the rates up and making maybe it's helping. Maybe it's helping.
Maybe indeed. And joining us to parse this madness on the screen out there today, it's an Uncle Mike type of day, that's for sure. Good thing we got Uncle Mike TOSAW from St. Charles Wealth Management joining us to help us break down all this madness. Uncle Mike, how go things in the hinterlands of St. Charles?
So is now a bad time to tell you that I went short yesterday?
Oh.
That'd be really funny if I did, though.
Shorted the market and bought all the Bitcoins. That's what you did.
Exactly. Great, beautiful day today in the Chicagoland area.
Indeed. And let's break it all down. It is time for the trading block.
It's time to break down the latest topics, trades, and trends in the world of options. It's time for the Trading Block.
All right, everybody, welcome to the Trading Block, the portion of the show where we break down what the heck is trading out there. And man, like I said, what a 24 hours it has been. This time yesterday, listeners, we were, about almost 200 points lower in the S&P. It seemed like the world was imploding. Of course, all this madness, all this drama on the crypto front was really weighing on the markets, the whole FTX, Binance, what the hell's going on? Is the liquidity crunch? Are they going to bail them out? Oh, wait, nope, they didn't. Are they using customer funds? All sorts of shadiness afoot out there was weighing on everything, driving Bitcoin down, driving ETH down, driving the markets down. And then, of course, on top of that, we had some not great earnings from outlets like Disney and others, even though Disney was pretty good, but the market still smacked them down, which was kind of interesting. And so all sorts of things were weighing on the market yesterday, and it just seemed like we were heading into another death spiral out there. And lo and behold, today, we get our October CPI data. And of course, inflation has been the bugbear that has haunted the markets for the entirety of this year. And maybe we're seeing a bit of a chink in that armor. I mean, it's only one number, so it's hard to read too much into it. But you know what the market is? The market never said, well, let's just pause for a minute, catch our breath. Nope. Up 4+%, 4.25% right now in the S&P. Back up over 3,900 when we were threatening 3,700 in the other direction yesterday, listeners. So, man, that's just a whole lot of loving out there for this market. The bulls really want to buy. You know, you just can't keep a good bull down, apparently. They want to open their pockets and their hearts to this market. And they are doing so yet again today. NASDAQ up nearly 6%, listeners. That's what we're seeing now. This is just insanity. And the Dow up 2.6%, listeners. So, yeah, it's just been a wild rock'em sock'em 24 hours out here. All this a long way around to saying our vol friends, except for the NASDAQ, not a lot of evolution on the vol front. VIX, when we kicked off the show, 2360, down a little over a point, about 1.15 points. Again, we're moving 4+%. So how much can vol really come in at the end of the day? Listen, that's a lot of vol. People forget movement to the upside is still movement. It still equates to vol at the end of the day. So, yeah, still down, but not down much. VVIX, the vol of vol, up, as you would expect, up about 5.25 points to about 85.25. So back north of that mid-70s range we've been hanging out at for a little bit. VXX, 1720, up about 1/10 of a point. UVXY, 930, literally unched from our show on Monday. SVIX, 1240, down a whopping 1/10 of a point out there. UVIX hanging out at about a 9, also literally unched from Monday's show. The biggest mover out there, I mentioned NASDAQ is looking at some historic upside today, and VolQ is reflecting that. VolQ, it was a 38.5 on our last show, a 29 today. So they have pretty much annihilated VolQ, aka the NASDAQ vol out there today. So just crazy town across the board. Since it is pretty much his type of day, we got to start in the hinterland. Mr. Uncle Mike, first, if you can remember that far back in this heady upside day, walk us through what was going through your mind yesterday when crypto was front and center and everything was getting dragged down as a result. And then B, fast forward to today where it's all hunky-dory and all was right with the world again, sir.
Well, in terms of crypto being at the center of things yesterday, I guess maybe something to talk about. I'm not sure, but crypto's not as big as the stock market, so I think that it was just kind of a distraction, something to talk about. I think everybody knew that this announcement was going to be a big market mover, but I don't think anybody, I shouldn't say anybody, but at least I didn't think it would be this big of a market mover. I think that, ultimately we are in a bull market. We're in a 100-year bull market, and the market does want to go up. And so when they hear things like this, then the market goes up. It's so desperate to try and find just something to make it go up at this stage that just inflation being not quite as bad as they thought it was going to be is something that's really bullish ultimately. The Fed all of a sudden doesn't want to raise rates as much, and we're all good. That's just where everything is going with it. So I think today it's a concerning day in that, of course, there has to be a little bit of a short squeeze going on. We've been down like we have this year. I can't say that, hey, because of this big day today, everything is fine. Let's buy. I can't say that I'm saying that right now because I'm not. But over the long term, markets do tend to go higher, and markets apparently want to go higher today. I think that with where we are now, we're also in kind of a bizarro world in that because this is all interest rate based, the bonds rallied as well today too. So it's not like there's a risk on, risk off attitude to where we're all of a sudden concerned about some major event and then there's a flight to safety. Everyone's buying bonds. No, it's not the way it is. Bonds rallied today too. This is obviously interest rate driven because of the fact that the Fed has also had some of their members come out and say they're not quite as hawkish as they were before. And so this is just kind of an interest rate day with where it's going right now. And I think the key day is going to be tomorrow to see if people want to take profits and go to the weekend flat, or to see if people are just so concerned that this is like a FOMO type of thing, or the fear of missing out. And so I'm not sure if we're going to have a lot of movement these last couple hours of the day today. But tomorrow is really what I'm looking forward to see if we have some type of follow through, or people just want to get out and see where the market takes us going forward.
I think you're really upset, though, Mr. Uncle Mike, because your two favorite universes of football and crypto collided yesterday when your beloved Tom Brady looks like also losing a big chunk of money. I know you shed a silent tear for your buddy there, sir.
Well, it's funny because whenever clients would ask me about should I invest in Bitcoin, one of the things that I would say is, something is a big bubble when NFL football players are asking to get paid in Bitcoin. And so I've been saying that for quite a while now. So I never want to wish any bad upon anybody. Tom Brady's obviously the NFL's the GOAT of all quarterbacks, but it's typically not a good sign when athletes and people who aren't financial people are hyping something up like that.
And let's get out to the man who's the king of hype, a.k.a. the Rock Lobster. Never met a Bitcoin he didn't want to buy. So Mr. Rock Lobster, dial your memory banks all the way back to 24 hours ago. Walk us through what was going through your mind when it seemed like everything was melting down and the markets were heading towards another death spiral. And then flip them to today when all is right with the world again, sir. Take your Xanax and buy some stocks.
Well, I mean, today's a good day. Obviously everybody that has a retirement account, it's good. I had some nice positions here in our option pit, for my option pit products for people. Mostly trades that have kind of that binary switch. So I was able to, close some things today. What's funny is we had this conversation probably 7 weeks ago, and somebody I know, I don't know, rhymes with chainsaw, said that 3,900 level seems like the place that we orbit around. So let's see where are we right now? Oh, 39.13. I guess he was off by 13 handles in a 6 or 7 week time frame. In that time frame, we have gyrated up around and all around 3,900 to the tune of down as low as 3,500, and now we're back to 3,900. And I have to say, I think this is a reasonable area, right? So we don't know quite how long this inflation thing will last. We don't know how long all of these other policies will affect stocks. A lot of questions. So, when you're looking at the market and you're trading vol, right? Both things. You're like, when is something changing? So I would say the last time, we thought that this inflation thing was licked, right? Drove SPX to 4,300, if you can believe it, in mid-August. Everybody was under the assumption that the Fed was not going to raise rates aggressively because they thought, hey, inflation had peaked. Okay, and maybe that was true, right? But then we got some bad inflation numbers again, and the Fed's like, wait a minute. Listen, we said we're hiking rates, and we'll see what happens. So, and here's the thing that I find interesting. Okay, now we've been about, 3, 4 months, 5 months into the rate rising. Buying a house, buying a car, doing all that kind of stuff, more expensive for sure because you're paying interest. Federal government now has to pay interest. Maybe they'll spend a little less, maybe. We still don't know what's wrong. We still don't know what kind of a Congress we have. Amazing 2 days. What are we, 2 days now after the election? Don't know. Don't have all the answers. So there's a little bit of a problem still. The government can't do their basic function. Although it does look like we will be a House, Congress will be divided. Historically, that's been better for stocks, from my recollection over time. Neither party owning both branches, executive and legislative, tend to do a very good job, especially on the spending front. So Russia is still, and Ukraine's still battling it out, but Zelensky's saying, okay, maybe we'll talk. And possibly because a divided Congress won't, or, if the Republicans in it, maybe they just won't rubber stamp all this Ukraine spending. And Zelensky's got to take what he can get and go from there. So, we now have, I would say, the inkling of a change for 2022. In the fact that some of these things might be getting, I would say, just overall, maybe a little better. Less inflation, better. Okay, it's still pretty high, but it's a little less year over year. The Russia thing, better. The fact that the market, the U.S. jacked up rates and the whole sky didn't fall. I mean, stocks went down. That's fine. That's what they do, right? They go up and down. We all know that. We've been watching it for a while. Probably 80 points in SPX, 800 points in SPX peak to trough from the August highs. So that was a pretty good chunk, almost 20%, almost 20% from that level. So today I would say is the first day that I've really okay, you take the election, you take inflation, the Fed kind of talking it down a little bit. These are all, I would say, marginally better. Okay, marginally better the way an equity investor would look at these things. And the second part I would say is the VIX curve now would tend to agree with that. So this is the first time in probably 5 weeks, 6 weeks, maybe 7 weeks. I don't know. It's been a very long time. I guess since October 6th, and what is it, December 10th? So this is probably the first time in 2 months, which is a pretty good long time, that I have seen that I'm looking at a VIX curve that's has kind of a healthy contango about it. I mean, the front end is lower than the back end, and there's actually real juice in the futures. VIX cash is lower, and generally that signals to me lower vol. We actually have what I would call a more normal forward vol skew in VIX. And I mean, the only reason I say normal is closer to historical averages. That's all it is. So we have it's option pit historical average number we look at. It's like, okay, when does it deviate from the historical average at this point in the cycle? So right now you're actually seeing okay, it's a little bit normal. The only thing that is not is that 9-day vol is still, the short-term vol is still really high, and it's because we just rallied 4%. So as you mentioned before, how low can VIX go when you just had a 60% implied move, realized move? So, but this is, I would say, we saw hints of it into this number starting a day or two ago. And I think that FTX collapsing, sadly, I hope, it's bad when anybody loses money. But I wrote an article about it for our internal Option Pit newsletter about, like, I've seen this before. It actually happened right when I first started trading, right when I got hired off from, and this was my first taste of not working for an exchange anymore, but working for a business that made all its living from trading revenue. And that company, our first backer was Drexel Burnham Lambert. Now there's pulling a name out of the, ether, right? In the 80s, they were
old
the
school
hottest investment bank there was. And the year before they blew out, they had a record year for profits. Of course, by the time 88, 89 rolled around, that one year, they started taking a bigger chunk of the bonds that they were selling. Like, they couldn't get those, the whole kind of leverage buyout thing was starting to tail. And all of a sudden, they were now taking a bigger chunk of their own paper to try to resell it later. And they got hung with a ton of debt, and they were leverage buying it. Now, I don't know exactly what this SBF guy was doing, but I like to say I've seen it before. It happened before that. It happened before that. It happened before that. I mean, you could play this over and over, especially when you have no third party that's actually reconciling, clearing what's going on. Like, I hear there's might have been commingling of funds and all kinds of bad stuff that FINRA does not like. They don't like any of that stuff, and for good reason. So that is definitely a bad thing, but it's also maybe taken maybe some of the heat out of crypto, and that money might be is like, wow, maybe stocks don't look so bad anymore because, how solid is my crypto exchange without a third party? You could have, the CEOs of these exchanges come on and say, oh, everything's good. And I actually saw some testimony from SBF in front of Congress saying that they have total transparency.
Yeah, that might come back to bite him, I think.
So, maybe he just took his $500 million, whatever he squirreled away, and, he's going to live in Brazil or Argentina or something. I don't know. But that definitely was, and when somebody says that, you take them at their word, right? You're like, hey, he looks like a nice millennial kid, it's not going to do anything bad. But I think all derivative securities should have third-party clearing through the OCC. Personally, I think all the over-the-counter stuff in the banks, that whole over-the-counter business, I know they're going to lobby against it hard because they don't want the transparency. Now, those banks, they do an okay job of risk control, but every decade or so, one or two kind of loses the plot a little bit and blows up. Recently, we were talking about Credit Suisse and exposure to whatever the Russians are. But maybe they've learned better. And then another of FTX was a former Credit Suisse risk manager. I don't even know if that's true, but I saw it on Twitter. So I don't believe anything I read anymore. But if I saw that, I'm like, oh my gosh. But will our rally hold? We're at 390. We're at the TOSAW level. I think, again, I don't think this is an unreasonable place for stock prices to be based on the action, right? Based on, still the uncertainty going on. But I would say this is the first time the volatility curve is saying, yeah, we're feeling a little bit better today. That's what I would say. The curve's saying we're feeling a little bit better. From a historical perspective, and generally this type of action, if this rally holds, and there's no more bad news, the kind of news that drive markets down, like we're out of oil or we're out of grain or something terrible happens. We'll see now if we get the actual sustained drop in realized vol that we need, because realized vol historically is super high. And And that's what we would need to have. So anyway, I think it's overall inflation getting lower is good. People changing their behavior is good. The government not sending out stimulus checks anymore, I think would be better. But that's what we got. But I think overall the vol is confirming this move to the extent possible.
Let's check into how that vol is behaving right now from a volume perspective. Let's start in VIX land. And, you might be forgiven for thinking such a crazy, wild day that VIX might be threatening an M handle today, hitting the 1 million mark. Not quite there, listeners. Still hanging out in the Ks, 520,000 to be precise. Again, a little over 500,000. That's nothing to sneeze at. The ADV is hanging out at about 592,000, but you might be forgiven for having expected, just an insane amount given just an insane market move we're seeing out there. I know upside days don't normally translate into banger VIX volume days, but this is a different kind of upside day, listeners. So you can't just lump it in with all the rest that we've seen out there before. SPY is putting up some decent numbers. 6 million contracts already on the tape right now. The ADV a little bit north of 8, about 8.14 million. It seems like SPY is on pace to hit that one today. The S already 2.21 million contracts out there for the S, listeners. That is a heck of a lot of paper. Let's look really quickly and see where that falls right now. I just had it before. I'll find it a little bit later, listeners. But yes, it's looking, it's not historic yet. You got to get over 3 million, but 2.21 million right now, as of this time in the show, that is a heck of a lot of paper for the S. So we may be threatening another historic day. The ADV is 2.84 million out there, listeners. So we are on pace for that. Small caps, 808,000 contracts on the tape in IWM. The ADV is 939, so we are seeing some action. We didn't even get a chance to pull down where our small caps hanging out. They're up, a whopping 5.4%, listeners. It's a good thing we're being joined by the folks from FTSE Russell coming up in about an hour over there on TWIFO to break down all this madness. There's a lot going on in the world of small caps right now, so we're going to get a deep dive into that coming up in about an hour here. Of course, if you're listening on demand, listeners, just wait a bit after the option block and then hit next. Of course, if you join us on the Pro, you can listen live and ask questions and have all that fun. The Qs, 2.11 million contracts on the tape. The ADV about 2.75 million. So it seems like we're going to hit them all across the board and then some. Let's get out to the single names. This is one of those days, listeners. Is it just too macro? Is it just too much in terms of upside? Is it the day where everyone's just forgetting about single names? Are we all just piling in to SPY and the Qs and everything else? And the answer is no. It's actually seeing pretty decent paper out there on the tape today. We're seeing 294,000 contracts. That's what it cost you to break into the top 10 today. So closing in on 300,000 contracts, listeners. That is nothing to sneeze at to break into the top 10. We've had days when that was number 3 on our most active. So almost 300K just to break in. That's nothing to sneeze at. That gets you to our old pal Disney. The Diz was looking pretty rough. Like I mentioned, they reported decent numbers, but they didn't hit the street's estimates, the all-important estimates, and that's what really cut their legs out from under them. Either way, they're still almost $100 below where they were. Their high for the all-time high was 177. Think back a little bit farther, see if it was a little higher. That was actually, it was 97, so that was just the 1 year high. So we are over 100 handles below that because we are trading $89 right now, and it got down as low, 86.25. That was the low pretty much. That was on Wednesday. So yeah, rough times for Disney. They kind of fell out of bed. They were hovering right around $100 going into their announcement that they kind of came from, even though a lot of their divisions like the parks and others are putting up record profits. Their CEO, unpopular as he is, has pledged to pretty much squeeze every last dollar out of your pockets as you walk through the gates of Disneyland and Disney World. And he seems to be succeeding in that endeavor, but not enough, not to the extent that apparently the analysts wanted, because Disney back well below $100 again, even though it is rallying again today, and good for 294,000 contracts. Number 9, it wouldn't be that day that ends in Y if the King of the Apes wasn't hanging out here. It's AMC, 303,000 contracts, up nearly $1 or nearly 20%. AMC says, hey, I want to play too. I want to be part of this crazy rally too. Watch what I can do. I can rally nearly 20%. $6.11 right now. 303,000 contracts on the tape for AMC listeners. Let me go out to our old pal Alphabet. 357,000 contracts, up nearly $6 or about almost 7%. So trading right around $93 right now. Then we go number 7. We've got Softy, aka the Rock Lobster's favorite. When he's not slinging Vicks, he's just loading up on Softy day after day. 399,000 contracts on the tape for Softy at number 7. Trading 239, up of 14, almost 15 handles, or nearly 7%, 6.6%. So Softy, a big part of that NASDAQ surge, obviously, out there today. Then we go out to NVIDIA. You know, chips were dead. Everyone was wringing their hands about it. NVIDIA, number 6 today, 508,000 contracts, up nearly 16 handles, nearly 12%, 153.5 is where it's trading right now. Wow, that's quite a resurgence from their 52-week low, which was 108.13, which came just about a month ago in October, it looks like. So that's quite a run. Back up to 153. Number 5, we're still hanging out in the chip zone, listeners. It is AMD. AMD, 560,000 contracts today, up 760 or nearly 13%, trading 67.5 right now. Number 4, are people going to buy this headset? I guess we'll find out. People are trading the options today, though. Meta, 798,000 contracts, up nearly $8 or 108. Ever since we did that poll, listeners, it sold off hard down into the 80s, but then it's rallied. It's rallied over $20. It was $88 on the downside, trading 109 and about a quarter right now. So about a $21.25 rally since the nadir right after we did that poll, listener. So folks are liking themselves some Meta today. Number 3, and I've said before, the market doesn't like it when Apple is red. And Apple was threatening. It wasn't quite there, but it was getting down into the low 130s again. And we know that 129 level is pretty much their 52-week low. The market gets spooked whenever Apple gets down there, and it's got to rally it, and it's rallying again today. 870, or about 6.5%, trading 143 and about a half right now. So a far cry from where they were just yesterday, 134 and change. So yeah, quite the run here for the fruit company. Good for 1.25 million contracts. That's only number 3, listeners. Number 2, it's the Amazonians. 2.12 million contracts. They're up nearly $10 today, or 11.2%. Trading right around $96. So they're getting back a lot of the juice that they lost recently as well. And then number 1 out there, it's Tesla, 2.21 million. Tesla up $10.5 or nearly 6%, trading 188, pretty much even right now. Good for 2.21 million. So Tesla really does seem to have a death grip on that number 1 spot out there, listeners. If you want more insight into what's going on in the single names, we have a bunch of it for you. Hot off the presses from our friends over there at ORAT's Earnings Move results, and earnings season. In the height of all this madness today, you may have forgotten that earnings season is still upon us, listeners. Monday, we had Palantir, Lyft, Activision, Blizzard. Tuesday, the old Diz, as well as the King of the Apes and Planet Fitness. Wednesday, we had Roblox and Wendy's and Rivian and Beyond Meat and Bumble. Today, we have Neo and Six Flags. Six Flags before the bell today. They were at $19.14 going into their announcement. They were pricing in 9.7%. They delivered 14.2%. So outperformance in the rally mode for Six Flags. Rivian, they went in at $28, pretty much even. They're pricing in 11.6%. They delivered nearly 17%. So outperformance to the upside there for Rivian. Neo, same deal. Today before the bell, 9.25 is where they were trading going into their announcement. They're pricing in 10.7%. They delivered 15%. Beyond Meat is the bloom off the rose for alternative meat products. Let's find out. 1182 is where it was going into their announcement last night. They're pricing in 17%. They delivered about 17%. So they were pretty much right in line, trading a little bit shy of $14 as of this report. Listeners, we have tons of those for you popping off before the bell. Let's do really quick. Let's do Roblox. Roblox for all the kids out there. 1289 is where it went into this announcement this morning. They were pricing in, they were pricing in 2%. They delivered 12%. Wow. It's a huge outperformance there for Roblox. My goodness. They were expecting a whole lot of nothing. And they got a whole lot of something out there. Of course, a lot of it is getting caught up in today's massive rally. So some of these numbers might be a little bit of effort to strip the beta out from this, but still, I don't think Roblox is that big of a high beta stock. So there's a lot going on out there in the land of Roblox there. Man, we have tons. Tickers for days here, listeners. You head on over to theoptionsinsider.com, click on the Options News and Articles tab. You will have your fill, I guarantee you. And that's not enough. That's just today's names and last night's names. That's just the results. You get into the earnings reports, what's coming up, names like Donuts and everything else, Walmart, Target, Cisco, NVIDIA, HP, all these names coming up for the next week and change. Baba, AMAT, Stone Cold, they're all here too, listeners. You could literally sink your teeth into this stuff for days right now. And if you want some trades, yeah, we got some for you. Buy in some straddles out here in Target and POS. And looks like I'm buying a lot of straddles today, actually. And buying some calendars and Yeti and AZH and a whole bunch of names. So if you want to look at some new earnings trades that they're putting on out there, the earnings trades reports got you covered. It's like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 new earnings trades, a bunch of straddles and calendars you can sink your teeth into over there as well. And that's not enough. That's not enough free, awesome data for you. How about the earnings season report, listeners? We are still hanging out at a heady 121%. My goodness, that's a lot of action out here every week. So I've never seen this since we've been running these numbers. Every week so far has been outperformance from a vol perspective. So, wow. That's all I can say is wow. 121%. All of you who were fading this season in our poll a couple of weeks ago, check out this report because it's looking like yet another banger. You know, it's always a banger, listeners. It's the odd block. So let's get to it.
It's time to break down the most interesting, unusual, and downright questionable options activity that's been identified by theoptionsinsider.com. It's time for the Odd Block.
All right, everybody, let's get weird. Let's get wild. It's time for the Odd Block. And Mr. Rock Lobster, stop me if you've heard this one, but it looks like someone's buying puts in agency. I know your mind's blown, right?
Shocking. I'm shocked. I feel like I'm in Casablanca. There's gambling going on in here.
Gambling? What? Buying puts in agency? I am shocked. Yes, Agency Investment Corp. We're back at it, listeners. Ticker symbol AGNC. We talked about this one a bunch of times. The most recent time, I think, was on Oddities back on August 19th. We talked about someone buying the October 12 puts out there in agency, and they bought those for about 40 cents, and the stock was $12.50. The stock closed at $7.74. So those look like they worked out pretty well. Now we've got the stock trading $9.32, listeners, and someone coming in this morning and buying the Dees 9 puts, paying 45 cents, lifting the offer 9,000 times. This is a 46.5 vol. So it seems like the downside fear has not abated, even though I should say we have talked a couple of times in the past too about some upside plays going on up here. There's some ratios and some other stuff. And it does look like someone also putting up today. Looks like, if I can go back to there we go. Go back to today's paper. Looks like there is a bit of an upside, maybe roller taking off the March 10-12 vertical. Looks like they're taking it off 10,000 times out there today as well. So it's not all downside then. There's a lot of size upside in agency, but we've been talking about a lot of the puts. People keep buying the puts, and because they keep working out. I mean, on the year, let's see, a year ago, stock was $16. I just told you when they bought those puts were from August 19th. The stock was $12.50. They bought the October expiration. The stock was $7.50 or so when it went out. So they have worked out in the past. Mr. Rock Lobster, it seems like the downside fears or concerns for agency have not yet abated, sir. 9,000 more, the Dees 9 puts piling in today, sir.
Yeah, we keep looking at these and thinking, I think they paid a month ago, 2 months ago, something like that. And then now they're sort of, I don't know. I think I think we haven't seen, the earnings have come out. I want to see after this quarter, third quarter of 2022, if the rate shocks are crushing these companies or not. But I mean, this particular one, clearly, we got earnings, and like this one here, we talked about this one, and I don't even think these puts paid. I'm just looking at them right now. Like does these things pay at all? AGNC.
The October ones did.
Yeah. Okay, yeah, no. All right. So they did this. So this is one actually that Yeah, let's see. 12 puts. Okay, that's kind of weird. AGN. I'm looking at this. Okay. All right. Yeah, they bought these in August, and then now the question is, did they close these? You're looking at them here because
I'm looking at today. They bought the DC9 puts. That's what we're looking at. The August are just for comparison. That's the last time we talked.
Oh, okay.
I know it's very confusing, this show that we do.
Well, the problem is
you ask for the notes, you get the notes, and you're still just overwhelmed.
And then I look at the wrong place on the notes. The listeners should not be surprised by any of that, by the way. So yes, they're buying the DC9 puts, and but it looks like the Ox paid, but I think they might. Well, at least as of today, they're going to have a harder time. But they're trying to roll in on the rally. So definitely a little more savvy of a purchase potentially.
Yes, I should point out the largest open positions in agency right now are not puts, actually. There's 101,000 of the Jan 12 calls and 103,000 of the March 13s. As I recall, there was like a vertical we talked about a while ago. It was in March. It was like there's some Jan has snuck in there as well. I think it was a March 11, 13, something along those lines. That is still open. So we'll pay off some of those obviously down the road. But so it's not all puts all the time, but there are a lot of puts. It seems like we're talking about out here. Speaking of puts, this is the name that's kind of had just quite the saga, listeners. A year ago, this name was trading $304.32. It was right around its high for the year. Right now, it is trading under $9.75. That saga I just pointed out there could probably describe a lot of names, maybe not quite to that degree, all the way up to $300. But it certainly suits Carvana. This one, they have just come for it. They've written the death knell, this one, a few times, including it seemed like just this week with the earnings, they got down to $6.50, which is pretty much the low for quite some time out here. I don't know how you have to go far back. You have to go, let's see, back to pretty much, I think it IPO'd at around $11.10. So, you got to go a long way back. Even in March of 2020, it only got down to $29. So, this is pretty much a low. And they've had issues. I know they've been stories about them in here in Illinois getting banned and then getting reapproved and getting banned again. Obviously, they didn't pay off the right people because it is Illinois. But still, it's just been quite the saga with this name. And today, of course, there's a lot of paper going up out there as well. One of the interesting ones that came across our radar, though, is some folks continuing to gobble up some puts. In particular, they are the Nov 10 puts. By the way, Carvana right now trading $9.83, up $2 or 27% today, listener. So getting a little bit of a rebound, getting caught up in all this mad euphoria out there. And let's see, that is a 207 vol, if you are wondering, listeners. The stock was right here. There's no earnings between now and November because they just had earnings, obviously. So they're paying $1.30 for these puts, 3,708 times. Again, these are the 10 puts. So these were worth $3-4 just a day or two ago. So maybe $1.30 seems cheap by comparison. But Mr. Rock Lobster, this is a pretty meaty scoop in Carvana. Maybe fade in this rally a little bit, sir. Today, what do you think?
I'm actually. I think I'm looking at the right trade. I think there's paper in this one and Car Guru. Now I don't even know what the difference between the two is. Does Car Guru even sell cars or they price cars?
All I know is Carvana has the sweet vending machines. I don't know what Car Guru has.
they do. I think Car Guru is like the kind of like a Kelly Blue Book-esque, but not. I'm not quite sure exactly what the deal is. But you look at this and I don't know. I just think the stock is. It's now, as funny as this sounds, Carvana did lease some space up the road for me to deliver cars.
Oh, I think you can get a vending machine. I was all excited. You can go get the novelty coin.
There's no vending machine, man. It's just a bunch of cars parked on a dirt.
I was going to say it's a bit of an out there place for a vending machine, but hey, maybe that's why the stock's tanking.
Yeah, I thought so too. It's off of Highway 1. The highway on the eastern seaboard. So it's funny, on the West Coast, there's no life east of Pacific Coast Highway. If you live on Pacific Coast Highway, that's what you say. At least if you're living in Manhattan Beach or the South Bay. And if you live on the East Coast, there's no life west of Highway 1. So That is oceanfront snobbery coming through right there. So the Carvana is actually situated on Highway 1 in Maine. So I would say somebody is basically looking at zero for this stock, which, it could happen, right? I mean, but it was, will it be a going concern? I don't know, but they're taking today's $2 a run and just, and fading the junk out of it. And I agree with Mark on that. There's probably some stocks that are just being scooped up into this. And to be honest, I think Apple's one of them, where, everybody's having a temporary reprieve. But this one, somebody's buying some puts and they're just looking for it to go, right back to $8 again, basically, which is probably where it belongs.
And really quickly, because we're coming up against it, let's pop off this last one here. This is KB Homes, listener, ticker symbol KBH, trading $31.32 right now, off about $10 on the year. Obviously, rising rates and inflation, lumber costs, all these things have weighed on the home building market as a result. And so we hit its high for the year back in January. So kicked off the year pretty much at its high, right around $50, and it's pretty much never looked back from there. It's not quite at its lows, though. The lows actually came in June. So the first big sell-off is when KBH hit its low of about 24.78. So it's trading 31 and a quarter right now. And it seems like somebody maybe thinks, Mr. Rocklobster, maybe today's number, we're seeing rates mitigate a little bit. Maybe that'll be good for home building, home buying. Either way, someone's scooping some calls. Get a little bit of call love going here. 5,250 of the Nove doubles. The Nove 33 calls, paying 34 cents for these. It's a 48 vol. Not crazy, not outlandish. It's just kind of, hey, let's have some optimistic paper to wrap things up here, Mr. Rocklobster. What say you?
I think it is. It is rates, maybe somewhat plateauing paper. Let's go with that. Rates somewhat plateauing paper. So I don't think it's I don't think it's unreasonable. People are still buying houses, just not near as many, and certainly they're not refining at this level. But the refi business is tough, but people could still buy homes. Now, this is quite a candle on KBH. So again, it's an optimistic buy. It's not my favorite thing to just go buy calls into a candle like that, just to kind of get back to where the stock was. Probably feel better, selling a downside put or a 1x2 or something like that. But I hope they're right on this. It's just, I think it's definitely a tough bridge, what they're trying to do.
We shall keep an eye on it as we keep on rolling. Listeners, it is Thursday. It's time to roll out the mail block.
It's time to take your seat on the All-Star panel as we read your emails, tweets, Facebook messages, website comments, and much more. It's time for the Mail Block.
All right, everybody, welcome to the Mail Block, the portion of the show where we break down all sorts of fun, including your responses to our questions of the week. Uncle Mike, we got a twofer here for you. You're going to love very much one of them, I think. Of course, at the beginning of the week, we revisited the question of saying effectively, how are you guys adjusting your trading style based on the factors that are weighing on the markets? Obviously not today. So we gave you 4 choices: reducing your equity holdings, buying crypto, bargain hunting /BTFDing, or you're hedging your positions. Back in March, 56% of you chose bargain hunting. Is that still the case? We should find out. And then we added an extra flash poll after our crypto show on Monday and all the madness on Tuesday, just for Uncle Mike's fun. It's expiring in about an hour, listeners, so get out there if you haven't done so already. And that flash poll is: the crypto markets are suffering from the fallout of the FTX Binance drama. Is this a buying opportunity or the start of another downturn? Gave you 4 choices. You're buying Bitcoin here, you're buying ETH here, you're buying Solana here, or you're out. Too much drama. Uncle Mike, let's start with the crypto one because I know it's your favorite. What do you think our audience is voting for there? And then B, if you can muster the strength, what do you think our audience is voting for in our bargain hunting, reducing equity holdings, hedging positions, or buying crypto polls?
In terms of, so the first one, I think our audience is voting to where they're at. I think that I think crypto's not cool anymore. Not that I ever know what is cool, but I think crypto's finally not cool. I think that Nobody is in it. So in terms of, and that's all I have to say about crypto, I guess, right now. But in terms of what our audience is doing right now, I think today they're bargain hunting. I think that with the big upside today, I think they might be taking a look and doing some bargain hunting. And with me, I already had positions hedged that I wanted hedged. So I'm just kind of doing what I've always been doing, I guess. A little bit of everything.
Buying some crypto is what you're doing. I see you over there behind the scenes, sir, talking up your crypto book. Mr. Rock Lobster, sir, same question for you. What do you think our audience is doing in our crypto poll, which Uncle Mike says is no longer cool? Are they buying Bitcoin, ETH, Solana, or are they out just too much drama? And in our actual question of the week, what are they up to in this mad market period? Are they reducing their equity holdings? Are they buying crypto? Are they bargain hunting, or are they hedging their positions, sir? A twofer for you.
Oh my gosh! So I think the hardcore crypto people are buying some coin. They're going to go to the Cadillac of coins, and I think right now there's some people bargain hunting, because that's what I'm doing. I've been bargain hunting now for about 6 or 7 weeks, actually since July. So
in crypto, you're buying crypto?
No, I would never touch that.
I got excited. I was like, wait, I thought you said you're bargain hunting in crypto.
I would not touch it with your money even there. How about that? I would not use your money. She would throw something at my head for taking your hard-earned money and buying.
I will create a wallet for you. I will send you 1 Solana just so you can have something. How about that? Just 1.
Something to watch.
And what about the bargain hunting folks? Are they bargain hunting? Are they hedging? Are they buying crypto? Or are they overall reducing their equity holdings this week?
No, I think actually I'm gonna give our listeners the benefit and say, hey, they're bargain hunting. They're like, okay, they're going for it. They're going for it. But I don't think they're cryptoing. I think they're out there.
2 anti-crypto votes. Got a couple of curmudgeons here on the show. I know who our next guests on the crypto rundown are. These 2. It'll be like Statler and Waldorf there on the Muppets, just poo-pooing everything. They're grumpy old men in the balcony. Let's go here to our crypto flash poll. That is going away in about an hour, listeners. So if you're listening on the podcast, alas, you have missed your chance. At Options is the place to be throughout the week to make your voice heard there. And looks like a lot of our listeners are in the same camp as the grumpy old men here. They're out too much drama. 48.6% of the returns here. Buying Bitcoin, 20%. 17.1% saying buying Solana. Solana has been the most beaten up, so that makes some sense, I suppose. And then ETH bringing up the rear, 14.3%. They threatened to bring ETH below $1,000 briefly, so ETH taking some heat out there as well. In terms of our actual question of the week, listeners, right now, it's still pretty much a pretty contentious race here with bargain hunting, BTFDing, taking the lead with 35.4%, followed by number 2, paring down the old equity holdings, 29.2%, and then hedging your positions, 27.1%. Again, no love for crypto, only 8.3% saying you're buying some crypto here as we keep on rolling, listeners, and go around the block.
It's time to tell you what we'll be watching on our trading screens until the next episode. It's time for Around the Block.
All right, everybody, let's see what we're keeping an eye on here for the rest of this week. Uncle Mike, we'll start with you. I know you're glued to your crypto screen, so you're watching the markets and numbers out there. But aside from that, what else are you watching until our show on Monday, sir?
I mean, the main thing is going to be continuation tomorrow. The euphoria, this is a very euphoric rally today, and I'll be interested to see if we can get beyond the 3,900 magnet of this market, and just looking for continuation right now. See if there's any other bad inflation tomorrow. Who knows?
Who knows? Because we all know 24 hours is an eternity in this market. We could all be heading for the exits again. The CEO of Dr. Pepper resigned. That's going to take the market down. If anything ever could. Dr. Pepper guy stepping down. That's going to do it. Mr. Rock Lobster. Same question for you, sir. Aside from weeping over the loss of the Dr. Pepper CEO, aside from that, what are you keeping an eye on until our Monday episode, sir?
I'm in the TOSAW camp. I think anything we hold this 3,900. If we hold the Uncle Mike TOSAW line in the sand. wow, can we approach the 4,000 level? I mean, anywhere between in those areas, I think that would signal like there's some health there. So that's what I'm looking. If we keep there, I think most of the earnings are kind of over. And hey, let's get an election result. How about that? Let's have these states count up those ballots and let's get it all on the tape and get it all over with. So it's only a couple days after the election, but I think even the Italians can do an election in less than 24 hours. Not to besmirch my brothers, but the fact that we can't get a vote out, they're kind of dawdling this thing. I think again that would be another piece of uncertainty. It'd be good to get that done.
Unfortunately, that music means our show is done for this week, listeners. But don't worry, if you need more in your ear holes, we'll be back in a little bit with Twifo, talking all things futures options, talking a lot of equities today, obviously. And we got the good people to do it with the folks coming on from FTSE Russell to break down all the madness, the volatility, the correlations, this insanity, event contracts. You guys are into those going on in the Russell 2000 and a whole bunch more. Stay tuned for Twifo coming up. If you're listening live, of course, you can get that in your ear holes immediately. If you're listening on demand, just wait for a bit. It'll hit the network later on today. And then, of course, if you want to join the live fund, theoptionsinsider.com/pro is the place to go. Mr. Uncle Mike, where should they go if they want to join all of the Uncle Mike fun, sir?
Follow me on Twitter at Mike TOSAW, TOSAW. And if you're looking for a financial advisor, complete comprehensive financial planning with options in the mix, if it's appropriate, of course, check out my website, stcharleswealth.com.
What if someone comes to you, Uncle Mike, and they say they want nothing but Bitcoin? What would you tell them?
I would look to call up the authorities and see if we can get that person committed.
So if you want some crypto and you also want to be arrested, Uncle Mike is the guy for
there you go.
stcharleswealth.com is the place to go. And Mr. Rock Lobster, if they want to talk to the other Ted, the fun Andrew, where should they go? What should they do?
Yes, 888-301. Ask for Ted or other Andrew, and you get 10% off any option pit product. And just say, hey, I'm Andrew's the most handsome guy at options, and there you go. You can't get anything better than that.
Can't get anything better. Indeed, optionpit.com is the place to go. We got to get on out of here. Like I said, back again in a half an hour for Twifo, all you live cats. You'll get it in your ear holes right away, on demand after the fact. And then back again tomorrow, noon Central, 1 p.m. Eastern, to break down a lot of mad volatility from this week. We got a lot to sink our teeth into tomorrow on Vol Views. And then back again on Monday, another episode of The Option Block. Stay safe out there, everybody.
You're listening to the Options Insider Radio Network, the home of the Options Podcast. For more quality options programs, visit theoptionsinsider.com or search for Options Insider Radio Network in your podcast provider of choice. Listeners can also access all of our programming through our mobile app available in the iTunes and Google Play stores. Select programs are also available via live stream at mixlr.com/options-insider. That's mixlr.com/options-insider. Don't forget to follow along with your favorite programs and submit your own questions for the hosts at twitter.com/options, stocktwits.com/options, facebook.com/theoptionsinsider, or via questions at theoptionsinsider.com.